The revelation of the revelation. The four Gospels explained by their writers by Jean-Baptiste Roustaing, 1881. Source: www.tinyurl.com/the four Gospels. Commentary on the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Commonly called the Synoptic Gospels. Part 1.
It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you are spirit and life. John chapter 6, verse 63. The letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6.
Luke chapter 1, verses 1 to 4. The Gospels.
For as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us, even as they delivered them unto us, who from the beginning were eyewitnesses, and ministers of the word, it seemed good to me also, having paid careful attention to all these things from the beginning, to write to thee in order, most excellent Theophilus, that thou mightest know the certainty of those things wherein thou hast been instructed.
Section 1. The evangelists, unconsciously to themselves, were inspired historical mediums, but were subject to the limitations of humanity, and each preserved his individual independence, notwithstanding the spiritual influence under which he wrote. The intuition which aided them in their revelation was due to the divine inspiration communicated through superior spirits, but was received by the evangelists according to their independent and fallible human nature. They thus recorded either what they had witnessed themselves or what they had heard from others, who, as Luke says, had been eyewitnesses and ministers of the word from the beginning. Man will not understand that, whatever the end to be attained, it is needful to employ such human agencies as are available, and that as these agencies are themselves imperfect, it is vain to look for anything faultless in human works. Each evangelist wrote from his own point of view, and translators and interpreters have frequently mistaken the original meaning. Besides this, the words of the apostles were preserved by oral tradition long before they were written down, and the discrepancies which exist are partly owing to this cause. If you always make allowance for the modifying influence which humanity exerts on medianimity, you will possess the secret of these comparatively unimportant variations. In certain cases, which we shall point out to you, the evangelists were purposely left free to follow their own judgment with respect to such portions of the narrative as were based on popular report, and which were intended to be explained and understood at the time of the new revelation. The discrepancies between the various Gospels are strong evidence in favor of their authenticity, for if they had been falsified in any other way than by the errors of translators, nothing would have been easier than to make the whole four agree in all points. Although nothing human can be free from error, the variations in the Gospels are confined to unimportant details. They result from the narrators having preserved the independence of their natures, although aided by intuition, and they do not affect any essential portion of the messianic revelation. They do not affect the perfect and immaculate purity of the origin of the Christ, even though not actually divine, in the strict sense of the word, his mission of love and devotion, his moral teaching, which is not his doctrine, but the doctrine of him who sent him, the eternal truths which he taught, his predictions and promises, the manner of his appearance and existence on the earth, which was purposely veiled by the letter of the revelation, which the angel, or superior spirit, delivered to Mary and Joseph, his humble, pure and blameless life, whether viewed from a human or from a spiritual standpoint, the so-called miracles which he performed while living among men, his shameful death, the disappearance of his body from the sepulchre, while the stone which closed it was sealed, his resurrection, his appearances to the women and his disciples, nor his final return to his true spiritual nature, at the time of his ascension. Thus the gospel narratives are trustworthy, and each mutually completes and explains the others in its own way, and the four together form the entire record of the messianic revelation. Do not pay much attention to mere verbal contradictions and slight differences of detail, which are of secondary importance, and have no bearing on the Master's work. Take a broader view of the task which is assigned to you. You are called upon to reveal the true spiritual meaning of hitherto unknown mysteries, to teach men who is the Son, and to prepare them to know who is the Father. You are called upon to reveal the truth to all men as it should be understood in its broad features, without lingering over unimportant details. Time is fleeting, and your hours are numbered. Do not waste time in useless delays, but concentrate your attention on those important facts which may alter the beliefs of men, or which have been misrepresented by tradition, and do not trouble yourselves to criticize puerile details, which are only worthy of the attention of children and triflers. The Gospel narratives consist of two very distinct portions, which must never be confounded. The first consists of the words spoken by the Master, his revelations, and of the actual record of his acts, but the second was designed to reflect and repeat the impressions, opinions and interpretations of the men of the Messianic age, respecting the nature and character of these revelations and events, and is therefore colored by their prejudices and traditions. To avoid repetition, you had better place the corresponding verses of the three first Gospels together, and we will give you one commentary upon them. The events related in the Gospels are loosely strung together, and are not arranged in strictly chronological order. In the separate commentary on the Gospel of John, you may refer, when necessary, to the explanations previously given on corresponding passages in the three first Gospels. You must follow our directions, and arrange the passages under our control. The revelation of the revelation. The four Gospels explained by their writers by Jean-Baptiste Roustaing, 1881. Source: www.tinyurl.com/the4gospels.